So our good friend of the channel, John Walco, has made numerous requests in a recent email. We're going to take care of those. John, thanks so much. John has a fascination with Hammer movies and movies with a Hammer style, from the 60s, 70s into the 80s and 90s. The one we're talking about today has a future star of Dynasty in the cast. Now, it had multiple titles. It was called Dynasty of Fear and Honeymoon of Fear, but generally is known as Fear in the Night, not to be confused with a 1940s movie the same name. Now, the 72 British psychological horror film was directed, produced, and co-written by Jimmy Sangster and produced by Hammer. The film starred Judy Geeson as a psychologically fragile woman who, upon relocating to a rural boarding school where her husband has taken a job, finds herself being tormented by a mysterious figure with a prosthetic arm. The great Peter Cushing and future again Dynasty star Joan Collins, respectively, also star as the school's mysterious headmaster and his wife. Big age difference on the Cushing-Collins thing. Like many horror films of its era, Fear in the Night has been noted for its usage of female hysteria as a central narrative motif, and was released as a double bill in the United Kingdom with Strain On Till Morning, another Hammer film featuring similar themes. In the States, the film was released as part of a double bill with Demons of the Mind. Now, music was by John McCabe, cinematography by Arthur Grant. Now, only shot for £141,000 and made about $835, so four to five times its budget. Now, this one, Peggy, an unassuming 22-year-old caregiver, has recently married Robert Heller and is scheduled to move with him to a secluded boys' boarding school south of London for his work. The night before she is to meet Robert to leave the city, she's attacked in her home by a one-armed man with a prosthetic hand and falls unconscious. Rattled by the attack, she leaves with Robert the following morning to the boarding school, which is run by headmaster Michael Carmichael. Now, Robert and Peggy arrive at the school and settle into a chalet across the road from the main school building. They make plans to meet the Carmichaels for dinner that evening. The next day, Robert leaves for work. Peggy explores the empty school and she hears the voice of boys chatting, but finds the classrooms to be mysteriously empty. She encounters the headmaster, Michael, who shows her around the building. She leaves him in the school and returns to her cottage. Shortly after entering her house, she's again attacked. Robert returns and is very concerned about Peggy's mental state. Although Peggy insists that she's been attacked, he doesn't believe her. He cancels the dinner appointment with the Carmichaels. Later, Peggy and Robert go for a drive around the property, where they meet the headmaster's wife, Molly, who was rabbit hunting. Peggy finds Molly standoffish towards her. That evening, Robert leaves for a meeting in London, and Peggy believes an intruder has come into the chalet. She arms himself with a shotgun. She descends the staircase, a very interesting scene, by the way, and sees Michael entering the front door and notices that he has a prosthetic arm. Panicked, she shoots him and flees the chalet, but he continues to pursue her. She runs into the school, which hears a chorus of racketed boys' voices echoing through the halls. Michael corners her in an upstairs dormitory, and she shoots at him again, but he's unresponsive to the gunfire. He approaches her, and she faints. The following day, when Robert returns, he finds Peggy in a nearly catatonic state inside the school and a pool of blood in the hallway. Michael is nowhere to be found. He questions her about what happened, but she says she cannot remember. Robert explains that Peggy had originally met Michael when he was working in a hospital as a medical student. The boarding school had nearly burned to the ground in an accident years prior, and devastated, Michael returned to the property, setting up recordings of boys' laughter and classroom lectures over the building's intercoms to recreate the feeling of the school's former glory days. Now, that night, Robert meets with Molly in the school and it is revealed the two are having an affair, and that Robert married a mentally fragile Peggy in order to coax her into murdering Michael out of fear for her life. Robert brings in Peggy, and Molly demands she reveal where Michael's body is. Molly goes to search for him, and shortly after, the sound of bells echoes throughout the school. Robert binds Peggy's arms and brings her to the main hall of the school, where Michael's voice comes over the intercom. He reveals that he was aware of Robert and Molly's plot to have him killed, and that he had locked the shotgun in the chalet with blanks. Robert loads the shotgun with bullets and shoots at what he believes to be Michael, hiding under a sheet covering a couch. When he lifts the sheet, however, he reveals Molly's dead body, bound and gagged. Very tough scene for the censors, and it is edited in certain countries. So, as the plot goes on, Robert storms out of the school with Peggy and attempts to hang her from the tree outside in a staged suicide, but is suddenly grabbed in a strangled grip by Michael. The next morning, two policemen arrive saying they received a call from Michael. Peggy tells him he's inside the school and that a new term is beginning. One of the police officers tells her the school has been shut down for years until suddenly the sound as a boys' choir begins emanating from the building. In a tree behind the school, Robert's dead body hangs from the noose. Now, Fear of the Night, again, created by Sangster. It was initially called Brainstorm. It was originally developed for Universal in 1963. The film had been scheduled to go into production several times, first in autumn 64, then possibly in 65. In 67, he retitled the film The Claw. It was not until 71 that the script was altered by Sangster and co-writer Michael Sison and turned to Fear of the Night. Now, the film was shot in the Hertford, Aldaham region. The scenes featuring the lakeshore, including the scene where Geeson's character encounters Joan Collins, were shot at Aldaham Country Park around the Aldaham Reserve. Bacca de Vantan Manor was used for the location of the boys' school. Additional filming, of course, took place at Elstree. Now, Fear of the Night was released in the UK on July 9, 1992, with that double bill Straight On Till Morning. Anyway, the films were shown in cinemas as a double feature, heavily titled Women in Fear. Executive Michael Carras at Hammer Studios conceived the pairing as a marketing tool, stating, "My original concept was to have two properties by the same author on a central theme, being made into two films, both directed by the same person." The film later premiered as a double bill with Hammer Films' Demons a Mile in the States in October of 72, in conjunction with Halloween. And it is technically a Halloween movie, just like The Haunting. It's pretty well interesting theory. Now, most critics have given this anywhere between 2.5 stars out of 4 or 6 out of 10. Mostly, according to one reviewer, Glenn Cracker of Spitting Image, said Fear of the Night did nothing to prove Hammer's fortunes, but it received fair reviews, and those who did see it found it satisfying if a shade modest. Now, the film was released on VHS on Thorn EMI in the States and on Republic Pictures in 98. It was released on DVD in North America on October 2nd by that ever-faithful Anchor Bay Entertainment as part of their Hammer collection. It was later released in the UK by Studio Canal on DVD on January 15, 2007. Now, Studio Canal released a Blu-ray version, and Scream Factory also did a version in 2019. Now, the only thing about this has been reviewed different ways because the terminology of a mood piece and not what it was. According to literary critic John Kenneth Moore, he noted that Fear in the Night as an example of the gendered fictional representations of damsel in distress, a motive that was recurrent in horror films of the era, including amongst Hammer Studio films itself, Straight On Until Morning, which Fear in the Night was paired with upon its release. Now, female hysteria, again, it's the eye of the beholder. Muir likens the film to the 71 American horror film Let's Scare Jessica to Death, in which a psychologically fragile female figure, also displaced in a new and strange environment, is tormented by events and visions which may or may not be occurring in reality. Now, the cinematography was praised for being artistic to make up for many who thought it was a kind of an old plot. Now, David Hochfeld, an expert on Hammer films who did Hammer Films' psychological thrillers book, 5072, compared the film's treatment of flashback and time to Parsifal, and claims that the film operates as a series of essays on nostalgia. The plot of Fear in Fear of the Night depends on Peggy's vulnerability caused by trauma, and much of the film's dramatic tension is built on her anxiety that the past is not over and done with. Of course, a lot of people mention Joan Collins' character as literally trying to drive Peggy crazy, either directly or indirectly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've never seen the movie, but John, who made a suggestion, can back it up. But these female hysteria movies were kind of plot-driven. Now, The Exorcist had a little bit of that, but not the same thing. Basically, a woman has kind of lost her mind. She's trying to recover, and something is going on. And that's been done for years. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the latest I'm calling the Walco Request series. We're doing about 4 or 5. Let us know what you feel. Would a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.